home. And people tell us this tragedy is highlighting a housing crisis in the area. Our Veronica Macias spoke with a nonprofit providing help to those needing a new place to live.
San Rafael police saying later today the street is expected to reopen at about 6 p.m., but that all could change depending on the investigation. Right now, this crime scene really just putting a hold on so much as people want to see the rebuilding of this complex because housing is really needed in this area. Officials ruled the fire at 516 Canal Street suspicious. The ongoing investigation hampering liability and insurance claims. Most people were sleeping inside this 19-unit apartment complex when flames quickly spread. Some forced to jump from the balconies to the creek below for survival. By the time the sun came up, some 55 people were without a home and many of their belongings. Omar Carrera, Chief Executive Officer with Canal Alliance, says the number of victims speaks directly to the housing disparities along the canal.
Families in the canal, they had to share their homes to make it affordable. A lot of people have this perception that the canal neighborhood is low-income housing, and it's not. It's market-rate housing where extreme low-income individuals live.
The overcrowding leading to a large number of people being displaced, multiple families squeezing into a single unit to manage the monthly rents. People like this woman from Guatemala. She makes a living cleaning people's homes in Marin County. She says for her, work is never consistent, so she lives crammed into a studio with 3 other adults and 2 children.
One feels very sad. One would like to be in one's own country so that everything would be fine, because at least there, the house is bigger and we are living more comfortably. But there isn't much work in Guatemala.
Most in the canal are undocumented and do not receive public assistance. The nonprofit plays a vital role in helping them get by with the weekly food distribution.
This is the workforce for many homeowners in the area. So they provide a lot of support to the local economy, to the entire county. So that's why we require a county response to this. But the lack of affordable housing is not just affecting low-income and moderate households, it's also affecting everyone.
At the local and county level, leaders are assessing the situation. As Carrera himself stresses about the crisis at hand, he calls for an immediate action and for people to stop blocking any new development.
Unless we solve the housing crisis that we have in Marin County, unfortunately, these type of situations might continue to repeat, and the outcome of that is going to be terrible. We need to incorporate these concerns into the design of the housing development instead of using those concerns to stop housing development.
For the moment, Canal Alliance has secured temporary homes for everyone involved, along with food, medical care, and legal aid. But the road to recovery will be long as they work to figure out a more permanent housing situation. Already on this Thursday morning, we can see they're starting to pick up material, and maybe soon we'll see the demolishment of what was left of the burnt apartment complex. We don't know what caused the fire just yet, but police have released the name of one of the 2 victims, 62-year-old Tracy Lee Lowmiller. Police hoping to identify the second victim by the end of the week.
In addition to the 2 people who died, at least 8 people were injured in that fire. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, one family's desperate fight for housing as their child lays in a hospital bed. Why the city says they don't qualify.
Este sistema es una burla.
This system is a mockery and plays with our mental health constantly.
Plus, a luxury retailer taking on one of the Bay Area's wealthiest towns. Why some say this proposed storefront could ruin the vibes downtown.
The town could benefit just from being its own unique character that it has been for the last 200 years.
starting to warm up as we head into the next couple days here in the Bay Area. 80s today and tomorrow, but suddenly we're talking about 90s and sunny skies too as we head into Saturday and Sunday's forecast. That's for our inland areas before we start to cool right back down as we head into early next week. Now you make your way over into the Bay, San Francisco, Oakland, everywhere in between, which means the Bay Bridge. We're gearing up for some upper 70s in the forecast as we head into Saturday and Sunday before we cool right back down to average conditions. Cloudier skies expected as we head into early next week.
A family in San Francisco now in desperate need of help to find permanent housing while their 7-year-old child is in the hospital. Maria Zavala and her husband have been staying in a shelter while their child recovers from surgeries. They've been working with the city to try to find permanent housing, but they tell our Lauren Toms they've not had any luck because of a confusing ranking system.
Samara, se puede, se puede.
Maria Zavala spends her days locked between fighting for housing and at her 7-year-old daughter Samara's hospital bedside. She's walking through the streets of the Mission, demanding the city invest more in securing permanent housing for low-income families like hers.
Este sistema es una burla.
This system is a mockery and plays with our mental health constantly. I ask myself today, who is San Francisco a sanctuary city for? If we are constantly being exposed to another type of deportation.
Maria and her family have been living in temporary city shelters. She's fought previous evictions and says she continues to be told by the city that her husband, a sanitation worker, either makes too much or too little to qualify for permanent housing. We first spoke with Maria and her husband, Jose, back in April when they fought the city's eviction policy and won more time for families like hers in shelters. But now she faces San Francisco's housing placement system, which uses a shifting needs-based preference score calculated by a database, which depends on income, special circumstances like disabilities, and how long a family has been displaced.
Sin embargo, a pesar de su condición,
That before my daughter Samara's surgeries, I had a score of 95. And currently, after her multiple surgeries, we inexplicably dropped to a score of 75 without any specific reason.
According to the city's housing department, families with higher scores and therefore higher risks often get placed in permanent housing sooner. But all applicants are matched with services, although housing is never guaranteed. Spokesperson Emily Cohen says their goal is to place all families into long-term solutions, but housing resources remain scarce.
And while permanent supportive housing is a critical tool, its limited availability prevents it from being offered to every family.
Maria was joined by dozens of supporters as she walked to her local check-in site, only to be told there was no updated information available for her family.
Frustrada?
She tells me she's frustrated and disappointed that they aren't serving, but they always help out. They just don't want to, she says. But she'll be back bright and early tomorrow morning. The stakes are high. The latest city data from 2024 shows more than 400 families are experiencing homelessness, nearly double the number in 2022. Even if the city's housing resources are limited, Maria says temporary shelter is no place for her special needs daughter Samara's recovery.
no pido riquezas.
I'm not asking for riches or luxury or anything for free. We need these case evaluations to be carried out by a thinking, rational human being.
The city's housing department says each case is evaluated by the team before it's entered into a database and then receives that score. It also provides subsidies and financial assistance to help families secure housing. Meantime, the city has reached an agreement with Caltrans to sweep encampments near state highways. Officials say the agreement allows the city to clean up sections under freeways and next to on-ramps. It also connects homeless people to city services and housing. New calls to end the open-air drug markets in San Francisco.
Drug-free sidewalk, drug-free sidewalk, drug-free sidewalk.
Yeah, these demonstrators rallying at a notorious hotspot in the Selma neighborhood yesterday at 6th and Mission. They say rampant drug use has made their neighborhood unsafe, calling on the city to provide more recovery programs and housing.
There is a social contract that we need to adhere to, and leaving people who don't want help to live on the streets and overdose is not compliant with the social contract that we need for our society to be a vibrant one.
Supervisor Matt Dorsey was also there. He represents the neighborhood. And today on the Morning Edition, he talked about his plan to introduce legislation to build more drug-free housing for recovering addicts.
What we have seen over the last several years as we have built more permanent supportive housing is we have an elevated level of drug overdoses. In some cases, up to 30% of the citywide overdoses are happening in our permanent supportive housing portfolio. I also hear from a lot of people in my neighborhood and in my district who are in permanent supportive housing who are struggling to stay sober. They are in recovery and they don't want to be in an environment where this is happening. And sometimes it's people who they may not be in recovery, but they just don't want to be in an environment where there is drug use going on.
Well, Dorsey himself has been open about his own struggles with addiction in the past. Police in Oakland stepping up efforts to crack down on illegal sideshows. Police say they've tracked down and towed 128 cars so far this year. That is after the suspects drove home from the sideshows. Police say more than 80% of those cars are not from Oakland. The city of Concord, meantime, moving ahead with the plan to lower the speed limit on several streets. The city council approved a plan to reduce speed limits by at least 5 miles on 20 stretches of road. The police department plans to expand its traffic team to help enforce the new limits. The ordinance still needs to pass a second reading before it becomes official, and then if it's approved, those new speed limits would take effect after the city installs new signage. One of the Bay Area's wealthiest communities is locked in a battle right now with the high-end home furnishings retailer over the design of a potential new storefront. RH, formerly known as Restoration Hardware, wants to move into a set of vacant storefronts in Los Gatos. The company wants to take what you see there on the left and make it look like these renderings on the right. But town officials are not happy with the plan. To some, it might sound like a petty fight over aesthetics, but neighbors are worried it would change the character of downtown. Katie Nielsen breaks down the conflict.
It's not even a historical building. It's actually built in the 90s.
This is the site of a proposed RH flagship store with a gallery and restaurant. RH, of course, being the luxury home furnishings company formerly known as Restoration Hardware.
This has been a vacant corner. Nobody likes an empty storefront. That's not good for anybody.
Jennifer Lynn is not only a Los Gatos resident, but also the CEO of the town's Chamber of Commerce, representing the area's business owners. She says there's a lot of excitement around RH taking over a 16,000 square foot building that used to be home to a Gap and Gap Kids, plus a small restaurant.
This flagship concept is a proven track record of drawing people from all over the region.
But that very concept is what's causing the controversy, especially with the Planning Commission, which has received recommendations from town stakeholders to reject the plans. The renderings show RH wants to combine multiple storefronts into one unified facade. But memos from the Community Development Director and the Historic Preservation Committee say they don't like the design. It doesn't fit in with the rest of the downtown buildings. But RH fired back in a letter saying their design galleries are bespoke design destinations, and they refuse to make any changes to the plans. And it's clear from the letter that the company values its own standing as a, quote, curator of design, taste, and style in the luxury lifestyle market.
They are very much about aesthetics and design, so they are very much putting a lot of an intention towards making this fit into our town's personality and culture.
But for people like Beth Bradford, who was born and raised here, the issue isn't as much the design as what it represents.
We don't need another Restoration Hardware. We don't need another large mega store. People can go to any town and go to those. And the town could benefit just from being its own unique character that it has been for the last 200 years.
Change is hard for anybody, and we understand that. Change is never easy, and we don't want to be static. Economic vitality relies on being progressive and thinking proactively and planning for the future.
The town council still has to vote on all of the plans, and if it does get approved, construction could start right away. The idea would be to have it open by the end of next year.
Well, the Chamber of Commerce says RH flagship locations typically generate more than $10 million in annual revenue. So when it comes to the town's potential sales tax income, there is a lot of money at stake here. Last night, the Planning Commission voted to make an official recommendation to the town council. They will have the final say. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, that picket fire burning in Napa County has not burned any homes, but it has been devastating for the wine industry, how it is impacting this year's harvest.
heading into this weekend, high pressure is going to start rolling its way in from our inland spots. What does that do? Well, it warms us up here in the Bay Area. Nothing too drastic. It's not going to be a heat wave like we dealt with the last week, where we were dealing with heat advisories widespread throughout the Bay Area, but it will feel a little bit warmer compared to where we're at today. And then to add to that, we're also seeing some gusty afternoons ahead of us. I mean, today, just by lunchtime, we're already up to around a 15-mile-per-hour wind gust. You think that's strong? We get all the way up to around a 25-mile-per-hour wind gust in places like San Francisco, stretched along the Delta, closer to Solano County, too. Now, let's start off with the Bay forecast. You head over into places like San Francisco and Oakland, that live look behind me. We are gearing up for sunny skies this afternoon and again tomorrow. And again this weekend as temperatures continue to rise. But those clouds definitely want to pull back in as we head into early next week. Monday and Tuesday, we're back down to the low 70s. Temperatures will feel cooler. We're going to see cloudier skies. That's more of a San Francisco summer, if you ask me. And then you head all the way over into the Bay, or our inland areas, away from the Bay. Well, of course, those microclimates love warming up just a hair more whenever we're talking about high pressure factored in. And that's the case as we head into this weekend. Mid-90s just by Saturday, so a hot afternoon ahead of us. A nice cool evening as we start to see the sunset, and then we're gearing up for one more day of 90s by Sunday before we're back into the 80s heading into early next week.
It has been a week since that picket fire broke out near Calistoga, and CAL FIRE expects it to stay within its containment lines at this point, but it's been stubborn. That fire torched a little more than 10 square miles, and while it hasn't burned any buildings, it's certainly leaving a stain on the wine industry. Napa County officials estimate $65 million in losses for agricultural producers. Andrea Nakano talked with one winemaker who's left with a bad taste in his mouth.
While fire crews are getting the upper hand on the picket fire, the damage it left behind is devastating for Napa County's wine industry. Bruce Regalia knows exactly what flames and smoke can do to grapes.
I think about years past when we lost all our fruit, so there was years where we had so much smoke that we didn't harvest any fruit.
Regalia has been making wines for more than 30 years. He's hoping this year's crop will be okay since Wild Diamond Vineyards is well north of the picket fire. Regalia says it doesn't take much for smoke-influenced grapes to produce wines that taste like ashtrays.
It infiltrates the grape through the skin, and it makes compound that is not pleasant to taste.
Napa County's Ag Commissioner estimates the fire impacted roughly 1,500 acres of crops. 20% of the grapes were damaged by actual fire and heat, and 80% from just the smoke.
This number is an early snapshot. I can't stress that enough. It's an early snapshot. The full picture will continue to unfold as we gather more information from growers, vintners, and ag producers in the weeks ahead.
Winemaker Bruce Regalia says there is a way to test smoke-influenced fruit or make a small batch to see how the grapes fare during the fermentation process, but it's not as simple as just tasting a grape off the vine. With the frequency of fires in the last decade, the wine industry is putting a lot of money into research to find ways to chemically reduce the taste of smoke.
People have tried filtration and different methods, and you can make it better, but I haven't tasted any wines where they've completely cured it.
Well, the picket fire is at least 33% contained at this hour. The cause remains under investigation. Coming up in our next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area, we are hearing from a fourth grader who recounts the horror of the school shooting in Minneapolis.
I heard the noise and I kind of got scared at first. It was like a big firework that was like super duper duper like close.
The first parade of its kind rolls into KPIX Plus September 20th. From the smooth rides of the 40s to the flash and chrome of the 80s, watch custom lowriders bounce, hop, and roll with style. Award-winning Chevys, classic Fords, and pure automotive artistry. Join Sarah Donchi and myself for King of the Streets Parade, Saturday, September 20th at 1 p.m. Only on KPIX Plus and CBS News Bay Area.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for being with us this Thursday. I'm Ann Magovic, and here's a look at some of our news headlines. Today, we are learning more about yesterday's deadly mass shooting at a Catholic school in Minneapolis. Hospital officials say 2 people are still in critical condition, 1 child and 1 adult. They're treating a total of 9 patients. Investigators say the gunman, identified as 23-year-old Robin Westman, acted alone. Westman opened fire at Annunciation Catholic Church yesterday, killing 2 children and injuring more than a dozen others. The FBI is investigating this as an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime. Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook suing the Trump administration after President Trump moved to fire her over allegations of mortgage fraud before she was on the board. The case is likely to revolve around whether Trump can fire Cook for cause, like misconduct or neglect of duty. Cook says the attempted firing is unlawful and void. Legal showdown could end up in the Supreme Court. And Ford recalling more than 350,000 pickup trucks. The National Transportation Highway Safety Commission says that the instrument panel can fail. That means drivers might not see critical information like speed or warning lights. That recall covers some 2025 and 2026 F-Series models, including the F-150. So if you have one of those pickups, you can take them to the Ford dealership for a free repair. All right, let's get another check on our first alert forecast this Thursday. Long holiday weekend just about here. Here's meteorologist Jessica Birch.
Warmer weather is on the way for us here in the Bay Area. Let's pull up the map and talk about a couple changes that we're going to see as we head into the next couple days. Yesterday, today, it's pretty much a copy and paste of yesterday's forecast for us this afternoon in places like San Francisco and Oakland, both sitting in the upper 60s and lower 70s. It's another day of 70s and 80s throughout wine country, from Santa Rosa sitting at 82 degrees, putting us 3 degrees below average there, all the way off into the East Bay. Concord this afternoon at 88 degrees. That's exactly where we should be for this time of year. Not above, not below average, right where we should be. And all the way down into the Santa Clara Valley, some of our microclimates down here a little bit above average this afternoon, but we're not riding home about that by any means. I mean, after all, 83 degrees is pretty beautiful with sunny skies expected into this afternoon. But let's talk about some things that are going to change for us. As low pressure continues to move its way to the north offshore, high pressure is starting to build in from our inland areas. What does that do for us? Well, it warms us up for one. It's also going to dry us up a little bit too. We're going to see sunnier skies right around the corner as we head into the next couple days. I'll talk more about that in just a second when I pull up the 7-day model, but here's another thing to talk about too. Earlier this morning, winds were nice and light. They're starting to get gustier now, up to around 15 to 25 miles per hour, anywhere from San Francisco, stretched along the Delta up into places like Solano County and all the way up into Napa County too. So we're going to continue to monitor those winds, especially as temperatures start to rise and relative humidity starts to drop into this weekend, because those 3 key ingredients are fire weather conditions after all. Now today, tomorrow, beautiful weather to get out there and get some fresh air. We're talking about low 70s in the Bay, warming up into the upper 70s heading into this weekend. And if you think that's an extreme warm up, wait till you see our inland spots. I mean, the Bay forecast is looking beautiful, like I just showed you behind me. You head over into our inland areas, well, we're gearing up for some 90s as we head into Saturday and Sunday, back to the 80s though as we head into the week next week.
We are hearing from a 4th grader who survived the Minneapolis school shooting, 9-year-old June Holeen and her younger sister Olive. They were both in the church when the shots rang out. Reporter Jonah Kaplan sat down with June as she recounted what she witnessed.
I heard the noise and I kind of got scared at first. It was like a big firework that was like super duper duper like close. Like if like somebody did a firework that didn't launch off like in your ear. That's kind of how loud.
What were you most scared?
I was scared about if I would get hurt. I was worried about like everybody getting like hurt and injured.
So you heard it, someone grabbed you?
My teacher just jumped on the floor and she kind of like motioned like for me to get down. And so then me and my buddy just followed her. And then she kind of grabbed my hand a little bit.
What was it like with your buddy holding your hand like that? How did that make you feel?
A little bit safer.
Did it feel like she was kind of watching out for you?
Yeah.
Okay, and you run to the Starbucks.
Yeah. They were letting us like try and call our parents and stuff.
You know, you're sitting here as your daughter is describing this. What are you thinking?
It's just very surreal. It's hard to believe that it was, that we're in reality right now. The feeling that I had searching was easily the worst feeling I've ever felt. I just needed to find you. It felt so much relief when I did.
A lot of kids might be scared to go to their school because of what happened at your school. What do you want to tell them?
I'd probably tell them that it's okay to be afraid a little bit, but it's actually kind of rare to what happened, so you don't have to be that worried.
Give your dad a hug. Such amazing composure from this very brave 9-year-old girl, June Holeen. And we also asked her, what did you learn from this experience? And she said, look, it's okay to be nervous. I also learned that it's okay to talk about this. And that's what they plan to do as a family. She and her sister physically unharmed. Emotionally, though, there's going to be scars. June's father telling us that this is going to be a process, but part of that is getting back into the routine of things, but it's going to take time.
The mayor of Minneapolis, of course, called the shooting an unspeakable tragedy and said that we need to recognize that we love our children more than we love our guns. Again, we're going to continue to track the latest developments, and we'll bring you updates on air, online, and streaming on CBS News Bay Area on our free CBS News app. The California Supreme Court shot down a second attempt from state Republicans to block the Democrats' redistricting efforts. That ruling clears the way for that November special election. Prop 50 going to ask voters to redraw the congressional maps for the next 3 election cycles. The new map could give Democrats 5 more seats in Congress. Democratic leaders say it will help level the playing field after Texas moved to redraw new maps in the state in favor of Republicans. Here's the timeline for the election. Ballots going out October 6th. Drop-off locations open the next day. Early voting centers open a couple of weeks later. And Election Day is November 4th. Barbara Lee, Oakland's mayor, has hit the 100-day mark in her position. And some people who live in Oakland say they're already seeing a change. Lee took the reins at City Hall just months after wrapping up nearly 3 decades in Congress. Our Kara St. Cyr spoke with some Oakland business owners to get their take on the mayor's efforts so far.
I plan to immediately review areas of concern.
Barbara Lee kicked off her inauguration speech with a promise to improve the lives of the people of Oakland.
I was heavily in a grassroots effort to get her in that seat.
100 days in, and Derek Johnson, the owner of the Home of Chicken and Waffles, says he sees a change.
She's very connected to community, and I think that's extremely important, right? She engages with community, she patronizes our businesses.
Supporting small businesses was one item on Lee's 10-point plan. Earlier this month, she updated the city's permitting process to streamline some of the red tape, a longtime headache for new business owners. For Derek, that small step equals big change.
And I think the residents like myself and business owners like myself are happy to see people coming back to Oakland.
While happy with business, Derek feels public safety is still a significant issue. Charles Blades, a barbershop owner, feels the same way.
As a whole, you know, each city's struggling in their own sense. But for us being better, city being better, driving, you know, create jobs, have things to do in the city, make sure the city's safe.
President Trump recently called out Oakland for its crime and suggested he may send in the National Guard. Lee told us Trump's claims unfairly characterize the city.
I think it's important that the rest of the country understand the truth, the facts, and that what he has said is not accurate. He doesn't understand Oakland. He doesn't know what's going on here.
Data released by the city shows that crime is down from this time last year. Homicides dipped 21%, and car theft is down 45%. While it's a trend that started before Lee took office, police and city leaders credit her continued support of the ceasefire program.
We have many challenges still, but we're all working on them together.
While 100 days is only the beginning of Lee's tenure, Johnson gives the new mayor high marks.
Well, A for effort and high B for execution.
And remains hopeful that Oakland will only get better.
One of Mayor Lee's first acts as mayor was signing off on a budget that closed a roughly $260 million deficit, but those negotiations did start long before she took office. Well, stay with us today for our afternoon edition, where I'm going to be speaking with Mayor Barbara Lee live about her first 100 days and what's next on her plans for the city of Oakland. That is coming up live at noon. Coming up next, BART has added police patrols and new fare gates, but is it actually making a difference when it comes to safety? What the agency and its riders have to say.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
Warm up as we head into the next couple days here in the Bay Area. 80s today and tomorrow, but suddenly we're talking about 90s and sunny skies too as we head into Saturday and Sunday's forecast. That's for our inland areas before we start to cool right back down as we head into early next week. Now you make your way over into the Bay, San Francisco, Oakland, everywhere in between, which means the Bay Bridge. We're gearing up for some upper 70s in the forecast as we head into Saturday and Sunday before we cool right back down to average conditions. Cloudier skies expected as we head into early next week.
Well, BART has been on a bit of a blitz lately to try to prove that it's safe to ride. They've added police patrols and new fare gates, and the agency says it is all paying off. Newly released data from BART Police shows a drop in violent crime in the first 7 months of the year. That is compared to the same period over the past 2 years. But the big question is, are riders noticing the difference? Our Amanda Harry heard from some commuters.
As more people head back to the office and utilize BART, one question always comes up. Is it safe?
I've never had an issue on BART.
Carson Singer has been using BART to get around since he was 12 years old. He's now 24 and has never felt unsafe. New data supports his feelings. A BART Police Department report highlights significant drops in most categories of violent crime and property crime. Singer says lately, he's noticed even more precautions.
Definitely seeing more officers. I also feel like having the new gates where everyone has to pay for sure helps with that as well.
BART is in the process of installing new fare gates at all 50 stations that make it more difficult to push or jump through compared to the old gates. Though we've observed some riders still find ways to get through. Singer believes the gates have contributed to fewer people creating safety hazards, but incidents still happen. BART rider Matthew Costa takes the train nearly every day. A few months ago, he became a victim.
Someone pulled a knife on me back in one of the stations in Oakland on my way back to the city. And I stood my ground and said, come on, you're gonna stab me, stab me. I didn't run, I didn't show fear, and they put their knife back. And then I called the BART police on the train.
Costa says BART police responded quickly and removed the person.
They definitely did make me feel safer, and I called them right away when that happened.
That's an example of one of the crime categories that hasn't improved: assault. Aggravated assaults remain stable. Simple assaults, which are a lesser physical attack that doesn't constitute battery, went up. BART Police Chief Kevin Franklin says they're focusing on that.
There are still, a few assaults occurring out in the system. I think it reflects some of the, issues that are occurring in the stations around our system or in the areas around our stations. And that's always an area that I want to work on.
If a crime does occur, Franklin wants to solve it quickly.
We have over 4,000 cameras out in our system. So when these incidents occur, if we're not already there, we've got great sources of evidence to really run down every lead that we possibly can and hold people accountable for it.
He's also working on hiring more officers. The BART Police Department currently has 21 vacancies. He believes filling those gaps will help continue to lower the numbers. But for riders like Singer, he's not concerned and recommends BART.
Don't listen to fear mongering, just use it yourself.
When it comes to cracking down on fare evasion, BART police data shows citations are holding steady at an average of about 200 a month for this year. Coming up here on CBS News Bay Area, she is serving warmth and compassion to people with nowhere else to go. Now, this week's Icon Award winner is giving vulnerable neighbors a helping hand.
head into this weekend's forecast. We do have some warmer weather right around the corner. As high pressure starts to roll in, you're probably wondering, how is it that the coast is going to hit the upper 60s? Well, as the system moves in, we're actually going to see drier conditions, clear skies widespread throughout the bay. And then on top of that, some warmer weather too. Still some gusty afternoons, similar to what we have today. Just around lunchtime, this is around 1:45 this afternoon, about 16-mile-per-hour wind gusts near San Francisco. Same trend over into Fairfield. It gets a little bit stronger into the evening hours tonight, just into that 5 o'clock hour. So keep that in mind. Some breezy conditions this afternoon that, if anything, will cool us off a little bit more in those inland areas. For our friends along the bay, we're in the low 70s today and tomorrow. We have upper 70s returning into the forecast by Saturday into Sunday. But it's a very short-lived little heat wave, not even heat wave, warm up, I will say, as we head into this weekend's forecast. By no means is the National Weather Service going to issue any heat advisories like we dealt with last week. It's not going to be that hot, but it will be warm nonetheless. I mean, we're talking about mid-90s in our inland areas. Saturday heading into Sunday, and then we're right back down to the 80s, still with some sunny skies in those inland areas as we head back into next week.
Well, for nearly 30 years, people experiencing homelessness in San Mateo County have turned to a peninsula woman known for her empathy and compassion. Lisa Collins creates a home and community for people who don't have a home. She says that she helps them feel seen and heard. Sharon Chin introduces us to this week's CBS News Bay Area Icon Award winner.
Take classes and make sure we're not going to kill anybody, so it has to reach a certain temperature.
Oh, yeah. Lisa Collins is in the kitchen at 6 a.m. boiling chicken to make soup that brings warmth and nourishment.
It's more than the food. It's actually creating a community.
Lisa has served as director of the St. Vincent de Paul North County Homeless Conference for almost 30 years. She leads a program called Cafe St. Vincent. Lisa and her volunteers pour a special blend of compassion on about 120 people who come to the cafe in South San Francisco each weekday morning. They receive meals, clothing, hygiene products, and vouchers for gas and haircuts. And they get help securing jobs and housing.
One of our homeless guests who comes in, and every time he comes in, he always says the same phrase, "Good to see you, nice to be seen." And that to me just says it all, because people just want to be seen, they just want to be heard.
Lisa first volunteered serving the unhoused as a college student in her native Ireland after she encountered her first unsheltered person, a 13-year-old living in Dublin.
I couldn't believe it because she was so young and she was living by herself on the steps of the River Liffey.
After working in magazine publishing in London for a decade, Lisa came to the U.S., volunteered with St. Vincent de Paul, and eventually accepted the job as Homeless Help Center Director and Youth Coordinator. Anna Marie Law comes to Cafe St. Vincent for food as she bounces from hotels to friends' homes for shelter. Lisa's helped her find employment and has been her go-to person for support over the years.
She helps with everything. She's wonderful. There's nothing I wouldn't do for her.
There's nothing Lisa wouldn't do for them. She kept the cafe open during the pandemic. She documents their lives through photographs, became a therapist to help them through their trauma, and started a Christmas giving tree in the 1990s to fulfill wishes for some 120 guests each holiday season.
Like for Christmas, one man, all he wanted was a jar of mayonnaise, and he was so overwhelmed. Another man wanted a guitar, he got a guitar, and then he played flamenco. It was really wonderful.
And Kevin Dempster is proof that people come back even after they've found housing. The retired ballpark concession manager returns for clothing, food, and company.
Well, I just like being part of everything. Yeah, it makes me feel like I belong.
And that's really what we want to give them. And that's, we have become a home for so many who don't have a home.
So for creating a community of hope and help for the unhoused at St. Vincent de Paul's North San Mateo County Help Center, this week's CBS News Bay Area Icon Award goes to Lisa Collins.
Lisa also co-founded a program that ran for a decade called Be a Deer, Donate a Brassiere to give away clean underwear. Donations came from as far away as Japan. You can nominate a community hero for a CBS News Bay Area Icon Award on our website, kpix.com/icon. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your first alert forecast and another look at your top stories.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for joining us this Thursday. I'm Ann Makovic, and we are learning more about yesterday's deadly mass shooting at a Catholic school in Minneapolis. Here is the very latest. Hospital officials say 2 people remain in critical condition, 1 child and 1 adult. They are treating a total of 9 patients. Investigators say the gunman, identified as 23-year-old Robin Westman, acted alone. The FBI is investigating the shooting as an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime. The gunman opened fire at Annunciation Catholic Church yesterday, killing 2 children and injuring more than a dozen others. Reporter Nydia Cavazos has the latest from Minneapolis.
Mourners set up tributes this morning to the young victims of Wednesday's deadly shooting at Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis.
Where's the shooter?
Terrifying footage provided to CBS News by a parent shows panicked children running out of the chapel moments after a shooter opened fire during morning mass. 2 children, just 8 and 10 years old, were killed.
This is an unspeakable tragedy. Thoughts and prayers, they're certainly welcome, but they're not enough. These kids were literally in church praying.
5th grader Weston Halsney says he ran and hid under a pew after he heard the gunshots.
My friend Victor saved me though, because he laid on top of me, but he got hit. And I hope he's good in the hospital.
The shooting happened on the student's 3rd day of the school year. Police say the shooter, 23-year-old Robin Westman, died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. According to police, Westman had been a student at the school, and the shooter's mother had also worked there in the past. Investigators say they are now looking into a video it appears that Weston made.
We're also aware of a manifesto that the shooter had timed to be released on YouTube. That content has since been taken down.
Investigators say the video contains weapon inscriptions with hateful, disturbing messages targeting blacks, Jews, Hispanics, and President Trump. The investigation is also digging into writings from what seems like the shooter's journal, including sketches of a church and rows of pews. The FBI says the case is being investigated as domestic terrorism and a hate crime targeting Catholics.
Police say they recovered more firearms connected to the suspect after executing those search warrants at the church and 3 residential places tied to the shooter. The Minneapolis Foundation has set up a fundraiser for the victims. We are going to continue to track any updates on this, and we're going to bring you the latest on air, online, and streaming on the free CBS News app. All right, it is Thursday, weekend just 1 day away, so let's check out our first alert weather forecast. Meteorologist Jessica Birch tracking a little bit of a warm-up as we head toward the Labor Day weekend.
Warmer weather is on the way for us here in the Bay Area. Let's pull up the map and talk about a couple changes that we're going to see as we head into the next couple days. Yesterday, today, it's pretty much a copy and paste of yesterday's forecast for us this afternoon in places like San Francisco and Oakland, both sitting in the upper 60s and lower 70s. It's another day of 70s and 80s throughout wine country, from Santa Rosa sitting at 82 degrees, putting us 3 degrees below average there, all the way off into the East Bay. Concord this afternoon at 88 degrees. That's exactly where we should be for this time of year. Not above, not below average, right where we should be. And all the way down into the Santa Clara Valley, some of our microclimates down here a little bit above average this afternoon, but we're not riding home about that by any means. I mean, after all, 83 degrees is pretty beautiful with sunny skies expected into this afternoon. But let's talk about some things that are going to change for us. As low pressure continues to move its way to the north offshore, high pressure is starting to build in from our inland areas. What does that do for us? Well, it warms us up for one. It's also going to dry us up a little bit too. We're going to see sunnier skies right around the corner as we head into the next couple days. I'll talk more about that in just a second when I pull up the 7-day model, but here's another thing to talk about too. Earlier this morning, winds were nice and light. They're starting to get gustier now, up to around 15 to 25 miles per hour, anywhere from San Francisco, stretched along the Delta up into places like Solano County and all the way up into Napa County too. So we're going to continue to monitor those winds, especially as temperatures start to rise and relative humidity starts to drop into this weekend, because those 3 key ingredients are fire weather conditions after all. Now today, tomorrow, beautiful weather to get out there and get some fresh air. We're talking about low 70s in the Bay, warming up into the upper 70s heading into this weekend. And if you think that's an extreme warm up, wait till you see our inland spots. I mean, the Bay forecast is looking beautiful, like I just showed you behind me. You head over into our inland areas, well, we're gearing up for some 90s as we head into Saturday and Sunday. Back to the 80s though as we head into the week next week.
It has been a week since that deadly apartment fire in San Rafael, and Canal Street is expected to finally reopen today. Investigators recovered 2 bodies from the burned building. That fire also left dozens of people without a home. And people tell us this tragedy is highlighting a housing crisis in the area. Our Veronica Macias spoke with a nonprofit providing help to those needing a new place to live.
San Rafael police saying later today the street is expected to reopen at about 6 p.m., but that all could change depending on the investigation. Right now, this crime scene really just putting a hold on so much as people want to see the rebuilding of this complex because housing is really needed in this area. Officials ruled the fire at 516 Canal Street suspicious. The ongoing investigation hampering liability and insurance claims. Most people were sleeping inside this 19-unit apartment complex when flames quickly spread. Some forced to jump from the balconies to the creek below for survival. By the time the sun came up, some 55 people were without a home and many of their belongings. Omar Carrera, chief executive officer with Canal Alliance, says the number of victims speaks directly to the housing disparities along the canal.
Families in the canal, they had to share their homes to make it affordable. A lot of people have this perception that the canal neighborhood is low-income housing, and it's not. It's market rate housing where extreme low-income individuals live.
The overcrowding leading to a large number of people being displaced. Multiple families squeezing into a single unit to manage the monthly rents. People like this woman from Guatemala. She makes a living cleaning people's homes in Marin County. She says for her, work is never consistent, so she lives crammed into a studio with 3 other adults and 2 children.
One feels very sad. One would like to be in one's own country so that everything would be fine, because at least there, the house is bigger, and we are living more comfortably. But there isn't much work in Guatemala.
Most in the canal are undocumented and do not receive public assistance. The nonprofit plays a vital role in helping them get by with the weekly food distribution.
This is the workforce for many homeowners in the area. So they provide a lot of support to the local economy, to the entire county. So that's why we require a county response to this. But the lack of affordable housing is not just affecting low-income and moderate households, it's also affecting everyone.
At the local and county level, leaders are assessing the situation.